Welcome back to Heartland Mamas. I'm Marie Briel.
And I'm Heidi Henry, coming to you from our two socially distant studios at the edge of the Great Red Divide. We're on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3 o'clock, and on special other times, we bring you the news and views that you can use from the progressive angle from the Heartland. You can find all of our previous works at Heartland Mamas, MAMAS.com, YouTube, all podcast platforms, and probably part of the Demcast USA network. So, Murray, today we're going to talk about tech
Before we get
bats.
into today's topic, I would like to tell all of our listeners to be watching for our special show this coming
Oh my God.
Tuesday at 4 o'clock instead of our usually scheduled 3. We get to interview the wonderful and awesome Ben Jarofsky. So we are really looking forward to it. Be
And
sure you
we're
tune
gonna,
in and look for our
yeah,
the
we're,
the
we're going
episode.
to be talking about the death of small media, the death of hometown media, and a big reason that Murray and I got started doing this. And one of our, as a person who studied journalism briefly in college, like everything else I studied briefly in college, because I can never decide. My ADHD is showing. Um, it was it's something near and dear to our hearts because we need to bring back local media and not from a corporate standpoint. So we're going to talk to Ben about that, and I'm really excited about talking to him at 4 o'clock this
So
week.
let's get back to our show for today, Heidi. Tex ass. Texassans. Ass Texans.
Yeah,
No. Now we
yeah,
before y'all get PO'd at us, we are not talking
yeah.
about those poor folks living in Texas. And by poor I don't mean socially economic status. I mean anyone who is
People are
stuck
suffering.
under the regime of incompetent leadership. We got to
Yeah,
do something. Okay, all the rest of the states. We know Georgia. Nobody ever thought Georgia would flip. Stacey Abrams was amazing. She got Georgia to flip.
yeah.
Beto almost got Texas to flip back in 2006, 2018. And there's
Yeah.
still a chance. They're Texans. You are so close. And we want you to know we support you 100%, but you've got morons running your government. Self centered, financial and power driven idiots
Yes,
running your government.
and you reelect them over and over and over and over again, expecting something different to happen. When we all know that to me, the downward spiral in Texas happened when Ann Richards was defeated by George W. Bush. When you all elected W, oh my God, it's been like watching
You know,
water
Heidi,
go
you're
down the
right.
drain.
You're absolutely right. I mean, there's a difference. Now, we have differences between conservatives, of course, policy differences, fundamental differences.
Yeah.
Ann Richards was by no means a saintly Republican, but she was
She was a
sane.
Democrat.
Huh? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Ann Richards was a, and I mean, she
She
was
wasn't a
a
liberal. I
feisty.
guess she's a
Oh
moderate,
no,
right in the middle,
she was a
like.
conservative Democrat, which is a really weird place to be, but she was a Texas Democrat, and that's just kind of their vibe, right? And the problem with electing people who are like Bush, like Perry, like Abbott, whose roots are rooted into your fossil fuel industry, you won't make a move forward in Texas until you consult with the powers that be in a dying industry, and I mean the industry is dying just like the Pony Express doesn't deliver your mail anymore.
Well, when the
It's just
coal
time for the world to
industry in
move on.
Kentucky goes solar, the coal
Yeah.
industry museum in Kentucky goes solar, you know it's gone.
Solar.
And that's a part of the frustration here, you know. So before we dig into the more honesty, we need to talk about what happened. The
Yeah,
country has been faced under blistering conditions. We've seen extreme weather of all sorts, from droughts
we're
to
living we're living Marie and I are in the middle of the polar vortex with minus. The other day I woke up, it was -8. That was yesterday. It was -8 and the wind chill factor was -14. That's been my life as a farmer. That's been everybody's lives, dead batteries, frozen water pipes. I mean, it's the stuff we deal with in the Midwest every winter. And we had a polar vortex 2 years ago, which meant I prepared on the farm 2 years ago, as soon as it thawed, for the next polar vortex, which was this year. So we're doing much better. There's a problem in Texas.
Heidi,
They should have
wait a
learned 2 years
minute.
ago.
Wait a
Yeah.
minute. You mean to
Yeah.
tell me that during the last polar vortex, you had things go wrong at the farm
Oh my
due
God.
to the
Everything.
weather, and
Yeah.
you said, hey, I need to prevent this from happening
Ever
again?
happening again. I think that my words were, this
Oh.
can't effing ever happen again, or I'm moving.
Oh, okay. Well, because I just wanted to point that out, and that was beautifully put. You were so subtle about that because that is exactly what the state of Texas did not do.
No,
In
well,
2011, they were
right.
hit
Part
with
of it.
disastrous winter storms.
Right.
Those storms knocked out power. It was awful. It was a deep freeze. Granted, they weren't anticipating another one to come for a long period of time, but the hosts of the energy grid said, hey guys, guess what? You need to winterize this. Every state in the nation has theirs protected from extreme elements. You
Yep.
need to do this as well. And the
Yeah.
leadership in Texas said, nah,
Eh,
we don't really need to do it.
we usually
It's
just get heat
fine.
and hurricanes here. But parts of it, like Beaumont, Texas, is on the Gulf Coast. And they winterize. They spent millions of dollars to that little tiny town to winterize so that and they have power right now. And on the other side of the state is El Paso, who decided to connect to the West Coast grid. So they were without power maybe 4 hours during this whole polar vortex, and then their power came back on. But when the state, but they also spent millions to winterize after the 2011 winter debacle, because like here in Illinois, everything, our power grid is set up for these brutal cold winters. Our turbines are still out there spinning. My solar
Huh?
panels still working.
Do you know that they have turbines in Antarctica that work just fine in the
I,
winter?
they're built for that, and it's a little insulation, a little extra cost to make sure that they're gonna turn no matter what. And yet only 10% of Texas's power is solar or wind. And much to great Greg Abbott's surprise, nobody shut off the sun a week ago. It's still working. It's the natural gas, the nuclear energy, and the coal. All that infrastructure froze and
So
couldn't
again,
bring the.
we're talking about a small consortium of fossil fuel moguls that have power over a state
Everything.
government,
Yeah.
over a state that decided they didn't need to do it because it would cost too much money and what could go wrong when
What could go
instead of being
wrong infrastructure?
right, right. So all of this happens, and they're now in the giant hot mess that they're
Yeah.
in, and you have the governor Greg Abbott, who was it yesterday that he did that or the day before?
It was the day before, because this has
Okay,
been going on for about a week. So then Greg Abbott gets on local Texas news and he says, look, our natural gas supply is froze up. Our infrastructure is frozen. We can't get the heat or get the electricity out to help everybody
because
have heat and
right.
electricity. We don't, it's all froze up. And then he flips a switch, Murray, because 5 minutes later, Murray, he was on Fox News. Now this is a national audience, and in my opinion, right then and there, I decided that Greg Abbott is planning to run for president, because he said, it's that Green New Deal piece of legislation that hasn't made it out of the House to even be debated. It hasn't made it onto the House floor. It's the Green New Deal. It's the solar and wind. It's all froze up. Those turbines freeze. The solar panels don't work when it's cold. Tell that to mine. And this
So it
is
was an
why it's
audition
AOC.
for the fossil fuel
For,
buddies to donate to his presidential
right.
campaign. That's what it was. That's
Well, and
essentially what it was.
to create his name buzz on a larger scale. It's all the Democrats' fault. And this was 5 minutes later.
Of
He
course it
changed
is.
from the truth
A very
to the
different
Abbott.
story. Well,
Yeah.
and we've talked about Governor Greg Abbott. He is a reprehensible human being on so many levels, from vetoing the bill that was worked on through bipartisanly, bicamerally, about sex trafficking and children to,
Right.
denying
Well,
that COVID
not
exists.
yeah, to not taking Medicaid expansion under the ACA because he wants to prevent poor women from having reproductive health care. And I don't mean abortions. He wants to prevent poor women from having STD screenings and cancer screenings and birth control and family planning advice. And if you take the ACA Medicaid expansion, oh, poor women get to go see a gynecologist. So he decided not to do that. So this is the kind of person, and actually that was Rick Perry that started that, but Abbott doubled down on it and tripled down on it recently, because he's afraid Planned Parenthood will come in and just stir everything up. So
They're rebels. Well, and then you have to look at your leadership, not just at the state level, but look at your leadership at the federal level. I haven't seen much or heard much from Senator Cornyn, but I can tell
no,
you that Senator Cruz has made quite a splash. Okay, so you have people who are freezing. They've been without power at this
in
point
a
for
dime,
4 days,
no food.
5 days.
Yeah.
And Senator Cruz's staff contacts the state police and asks for an escort to the airport for he and
Yeah.
his family because they're jotting away to Mexico,
To Cancun.
to Cancun. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That
And
is
reprehensible.
as tone deaf as you could
Reprehensible.
possibly
And
get.
oh my God, how out of
It's
touch with
it's it's
reality and your
it's Donald
consistency
Trump
are you?
throwing paper towels at hurricane victims. It is, it
Exactly.
is
That level of
and then
jackassery.
he's comes back in a hurry and because he faced fallout from it, but Ted Cruz should know that he would face political fallout from this. I mean, in
Well, don't worry. What did he
2018,
do? Yeah. Go ahead. What happened in
In
2018?
2018, he built his campaign around the fact that he was
Yeah.
there during Hurricane Harvey and was
Harvey. Yeah.
working and getting
Federal
funds
aid.
and
Yeah.
working with FEMA. And you're right, Heidi, you mentioned something about there isn't a terrible amount that he can do. But he can be working with FEMA. He can be coordinating
Well,
between the federal response and the state response.
here's
He
the
can be
difference
there for his
between
constituents.
Harvey and now is that he had to ass kiss Donald Trump to get federal funding, FEMA funding, to be declared a disaster area. And now from Washington, Biden sees that there's a problem. He goes, let me send help. There's no ass kissing involved. He's just, let me send help. And off it comes. Ted Cruz didn't have to kiss the ring or the butt of Donald Trump to get it this time, right? And the thing is that not because he can never take responsibility for the despicable person he's become. And he's always been terrible, but
Oh
now he's
yeah.
a disgrace and a disgraced politician because of his supporting of the insurrection. But he throws his daughters under the bus. It's my children's fault that we went to Cancun. Really? Your wife could have taken them to Cancun. Nobody would have really thought much about it. But you went down there with the intention of not coming back. And the only reason you came back as quickly as you did, is he back yet? I think he's
Yeah.
still down there.
No, I think he's coming
Is
back
he back?
tomorrow
He
or
is
late
coming
tonight.
back tomorrow. But in the meantime, he gets to sun his hiney and drink Mai Tais or pina coladas or margaritas by the beach and dip in the warm ocean waters. While the rest, and by the time he gets back tomorrow, the electricity should be back on.
I
It
mean,
should
and
be back
remember,
on.
when you reach this level, you have handlers. You
Yeah.
have people, advisors. You have people that you trust. And by this point in his political career, he should
He should
know
know.
that this is awful. I mean, he was censured by Republicans for voting some of the counties for his support of the insurrection. His party is splitting in two. I think you're right, Heidi. You said that in pre-show, and again right now. I really think that you kind of nailed it. That it was the erosion of what little
Dignity, responsibility,
that
leadership.
was there in the first place. Yeah, yeah, I think you're right. I think, and that's
Trump
what we
ain't it
often
all.
say, right? We said that Donald Trump didn't create the racism, right? He didn't
No.
create people being racist. He didn't make everybody hate Barack Obama or black people or Latinx community. But what he did do was he normalized that behavior. He said, it's
Yeah.
okay. You have every right to feel this way. But instead
Right.
of saying you have every right to feel this way, because that's natural. But what really is happening is this. But instead, it was you have every right to feel that way, end, period, full stop. And so it
Well,
allowed people to
yeah.
take those uncomfortable idiosyncrasies and
Brutal.
something
Barbaric.
tells you something's not right about doing it, but president does it, so it's got to be okay. And I think you're
Well, and
right.
the Trump cancer has eaten away at whatever integrity Ted Cruz has. It has gnawed it away, eroded him to his very soul. I mean, he sold his soul to Trump and company, and it was already owned by fossil fuel. So I don't know what little Trump got, but he got whatever dignity the man had left. And he's not the only despicable person. I mean, Abbott's despicable, Cruz is despicable. I don't know where John Corwin is. Haven't heard anything from him. But there's other people in this that have already, are adding fuel to the fire. Rick Perry comes out, who was the governor after W, who served as
And a
energy
former
secretary,
energy secretary, which we all know
who was
Rick Perry is
completely unqualified,
a giant fossil fuel
sycophant.
overlord. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's not the overlord. He just sucks onto it. And all I keep thinking about is him on Dancing with the Stars, which I only tuned in to watch that because I only watched that show a little bit in my lifetime because I don't watch a lot of TV. But I did tune in to watch him be an idiot. And I think he was on at the same time Tommy Chong was on. And Tommy Chong interested me because, who didn't listen to Cheech and Chong in the 70s?
Cheech and Chong are
So you weren't born yet.
legendary. Yes, I
Yeah.
was. What do you think? Why
Well,
do you think I was born in like 2000? Okay, I
I
have
don't
an
know.
18-year-old son
You're
in
young.
2 weeks. Okay.
Okay, I have a 34-year-old son.
Yeah, you got me beat. A little
Yeah.
bit there, a
And
little bit.
yeah, and I started late. I was a full grown up when I had kids.
Me
Anyway, but
too.
that's neither here nor there. I mean, I think about what Rick Perry said. And he said before Texas will reconnect its little ERCOT grid, its little grid that's failing all over the place, to the east or west coast grid for just backup just in case. Texans would rather starve and freeze to death first before they would take that socialist energy. What the hell, Rick Perry? You are such. Uh, Again, another person whose very soul was corrupted, and what little integrity
Rick
he had
Perry
was
never
eaten
had
away
a
by the Trump
soul. Rick
cancer.
Perry is the creature that lives under the rock in the Three Billy Goats gruff. Like, no, he's no,
Oh,
he's
yeah,
not the
I can see
he's
that.
not the troll or the ogre. No, he's more of some sort
Slime,
of fungus that
mucus,
kind of
fungus.
grows and eats away at the skin and is dangerous,
He's
but
Ebola. He's
you know
Ebola.
he's
So,
yucky. You don't like him.
and the thing is these people they set the standard for other Republicans in Texas because there's not a statewide office in Texas that isn't held by a Republican. And then you get to these lower guys, these Matt Makowitz, who
Who's
is, yeah, he's part of he's like the head of the Texas GOP in Austin. And he's currently trying to make in Austin, Texas, homelessness, being without a home, being without a
a
residence,
crime?
criminal. Yeah, a crime. It's a crime to be homeless. No, asshole, pardon me. It is a crime to have poverty and not do a damn thing about it. Because a lot
So
of people who are homeless are impoverished. They have mental illness. They have addiction issues. They're veterans. They're students. They're single parents. And instead of saying, you know what, Austin, we need to open our hearts and find a way to help people. No, you're criminals because you don't have a home. And so what he did, what this compassionate man did, was he put out on Twitter, included his personal phone number to his cell phone. I want to crowdfund a private jet to Miami. Hit me up if you want to go along. Oh my God, Murray. And then he was mad because he was getting phone calls from angry constituents, angry people from Austin all night long. Yeah, I've got your number now. I may call you and say, what is wrong with you? What is seriously wrong with you that you can lack compassion at that level? Not only does he hate homeless people, he must hate Austin. Uh, he's in charge of the GOP in that part of Texas, and then he wants to escape and just go to Miami. Well, who doesn't want to go to Miami? Except we
I
have a
wouldn't want to
global
go to
pandemic.
Miami. Miami is Florida, and we are going to talk about that some other day. But
Florida.
that's like I don't
Well,
know how
isn't it?
many
Isn't
other
it?
states are as poorly run. If you just go back, look at how the pandemic was handled. Look at how
Oh, Florida.
everything has been handled, and you know, and you said something right, Heidi. You said that Donald Trump aided the corrosion of the facade of corruption that is the Republican Party.
Right.
But we've mentioned this several times that this rise of this right wing insanity, Ted Cruz flying off to Mexico in the middle of a state crisis for public image reasons alone is a nightmare. But it goes all the way down to the mayor in Texas
Oh my God. The
of
mayor, Tim Boyd. Are we talking about Tim Boyd?
we are Colorado City Mayor's Tim Boyd. Yeah. So he was just pretty much like Rick Perry. Rick Perry said, as Heidi mentioned, Rick Perry said, we Texans would rather go
Die.
without
We'd rather free
power, would rather
and
die
food. Yeah.
than
Water.
have
The
the
water.
federal government involved in their power grid. Think about that, people. Okay, this is not one, not two, but three massive let them eat cake moments. And we come to the fourth one, which I'm going to read because it's just so ridiculous. So, this Texas mayor, Colorado City, has just resigned after they were still without power on Tuesday. So, like Heidi said, we're almost at a week, and Tim Boyd is the mayor, and he said only he wrote a message to the people of his city saying only the strong will
On social media.
survive,
Right.
and right, only the strong will survive, and the weak will perish. He goes on to say to his constituents, to the residents of his city, no one owes you or your family anything, nor is it the local government's responsibility to support you during times like these. He said, sink or swim, it's your choice. The
Mm-hmm.
city and county, along with power providers or any other services, owe you nothing.
Nothing.
I'm sick and tired of people looking for a damn handout.
Handout. And again, he
Mic drop.
governs. Yeah, he governs like Trump did by social media. This is how he's letting people know that no help is coming and he doesn't give a flying F, about
And I
anybody.
can
Not the
understand
elderly
being
citizen,
overwhelmed and
not the
frustrated and getting lots and lots of calls from
yeah,
constituents and people desperate for help. But when you go into public service, that's
you are a
even
public
the smallest government folks, that's kind of what you're there for, right?
Yeah, it's your
Like
job.
to
JOB.
serve your constituents. And even though he may have been frustrated and exhausted or whatever, That was mind blowing. That's a let them eat cake moment. That's a
Yep.
F you,
I got
grandma in
mine.
your
You don't have
wheelchair.
anything.
You're gonna
Yeah.
freeze to death. F
Yeah.
you. What the hell is wrong with people, Heidi?
Marie, it is that Trump cancer. It has eaten away at the integrity and dignity of all of these Republicans that are in leadership. And the problem is that the people of Texas knew who they elected when they elected them. Now they're seeing them for who they really are. The rest of us are pointing it out to them. Hey, you guys keep electing them, all of you, but enough of you that you have these people running your cities, your counties. I mean, we have counties in Texas that don't want to vaccinate poor people or people of color. We have places in Texas where if you don't follow the rules, you're not getting any vaccine. Because they didn't take ACA, Medicaid expansion under ACA, you have 1 in 4 rural Texas hospital is now closed. You can drive up to 4 hours if you have a broken leg or having a heart attack. You're going to die en route. This is the stupidity that has been allowed to fester since Ann Richards was defeated by George W. Bush. And if you guys don't cut it out, that's been 1994, I think, right around there. Yeah, 94 is when W took over, and that was on a stupid gun control issue, and that's a whole other story. It was concealed carry, which Bush is like, hell no, we're gonna do open carry because we're the wild, wild west. And
Again, back to the
the
myth and
stupidity
the.
has washed over Texas. That's a whole other show, and we've done
But
shows on that.
we
But
do have to say there were a few things, like a few good things that came out. Like,
there are some really
look
good
at
things.
what Beto O'Rourke is doing. Right,
Oh my
he
God,
is
Beto.
organizing phone banks to make sure that seniors have heat, water, if they need anything, all through his community. He's organizing. He's out there, and yes, he's not a legislator anymore, but
He's
that's
a
some
public
pretty
servant
amazing
that's
work.
not elected right now, but he's still serving his communities. He's still looking after the people of Texas. His phone bank made 151,000 calls in one day in just 12 hours to try to get people connected with the services, food, heat, transportation, all of those things. And nobody's paying him for this. This is this is the definition of a public servant that goes, you know what? I'm not elected, but let me help my community. That's my job. I love where I live. I look after people. And, you know, I think Texas needs more Betos and less Ted Cruz's, less Greg Abbott's,
Sweet
less
Jesus, amen, girl.
Mikowitz. Well,
Mackowiak
and
and Tim
you know,
Boyd's.
oh God, Tim Boyd. And then he's like, I effed up, so I resign. I quit. You guys are all on your own, which was exactly what he said when he made that post on Facebook. Is y'all are on your own. And now he's like, well, I quit and you're still on your own.
Right.
Oh my God. I can't imagine the elderly people that live in his community in Colorado City.
And he doesn't
To
look like a young spring chicken. I mean,
no,
he's not old, but dude,
he's
really?
probably got a he's probably got a battery operated generator at his place or gasoline, and he's doing just fine, but he doesn't care about the people in the nursing home that are freezing to death. He doesn't care about the elderly people stuck in their houses that have no running water. He doesn't care about the people whose ceilings are caving in from the frozen pipes exploding. He doesn't care. And he made it evidently clear that he didn't care. And you see these little glimmers of hope. I mean, I'm so glad that people shamed Joel Olstein back during the hurricane a couple years ago.
Oh, I
So,
remember being
yeah.
so shocked. A religious leader during a hurricane would open his doors. Hmm.
Nope. Now he's opened his doors, but he's probably following him around with white gloves saying, don't touch that. Don't touch that. Be
Well, hey,
sure. And,
he opened his doors, which is a step in the right direction, you
I
know?
know. Not a big Joel
Well, look
Olstein
at
fan.
Mexico. Mexico is sending their desalination boats
Shipped.
to help with
Yep.
fresh water supply. I mean, why?
That's
Here's the
crazy.
thing, though. Texas, I get a little irritated only because, you know, when your leaders claim other states don't need anything when they have disasters and deny helping other states, y'all are more than happy to have the assistance when it hits you. And that's wrong. That's a
Right.
reflection of the leadership.
Well, Marie, just 2.5 weeks ago, Texas was making noise about seceding from the Union again.
Bye-bye.
They obviously can't take care of themselves, Marie. They need a steward because they don't have any. They've elected all these idiots. What would happen if they seceded and this happened? They would be, a third world country that is struggling to survive because the fossil fuel
Honey, they would be
industry,
fine. They have their guns and they have their oil.
but no snow shovels,
They have their guns and their oil.
no snow plows.
No snow shovels, no
Yeah,
salt, but they have their guns and their oil. They'll be fine. All right, guys. So we hope we wrapped up Texas for you. Don't be offended by our
my
title
sister lives
today,
in
but
Texas.
huh?
My sister lives in Texas. I have not called her to see. We had a falling out over the last election, so we haven't talked in quite a while. So since last March.
Don't piss. All right, I'll be careful not to piss you off, girl. But thanks for tuning in, guys. Elections matter, whether it is your dog catcher, your township clerk, your municipal elections. Municipals. This jackass Tim Boyd is a mayor, which means he gets elected during a municipal cycle, which means coming up, y'all should be ready to vote and vote smart people in, not dumb people. Because these jackasses like Tim Boyd slither through till they get a better position and a bigger position. And
They
then you're
slither
trapped in the Perry
Yeah.
Bush Abbott cycle
But
of hell that you've been in.
because people in Texas are so ingrained to vote R, and it's all about guns and abortion, and that's all we vote R for all the time. When really it's about your power grid and it's about your future. And your future is not in fossil fuels. Nobody's future is in that. It's just like my future's not in the Pony Express. So
Well, with DeJoy running it, you may be asked to be called into service. I'm just saying. Don't hold any bets off, lady.
I sent a small package from my place to Arlington, Illinois, which I could drive there in 25, 30 minutes. A week and a half ago, still isn't there. Almost 2 weeks ago, still not there.
So Heidi's gonna get on her horse and start delivering your mail, and we will see you again on Tuesday. Be sure to tune in Tuesday at 4 o'clock with Ben Jarofsky. Watch our
4 o'clock.
website. We need your help, guys. We need you to like, subscribe, share, spread the word about the Heartland Mamas. It means the world to us and helps us keep doing this. So thanks again, Heartland Mamas.
MAMAS.com. Find us on all podcast platforms, YouTube, and proudly part of the Demcast USA network. See you Tuesday at 4. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.